30 wins last year was a Purdue record for Matt Painter. Let's see what he's got in store this season.
Coach, if you'd like to start with the opening statement, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Yes, thank you. Obviously, every coach that gets up here, we say the same things in our opening statement. So everybody has a good summer, so we had a good summer too. Everybody's excited about it, so, we're excited about the season. After listening to Chris Holtman talk, it is different for me this year than last year. We started 4 seniors last year. We went on a trip to Taiwan. We got a lot of basketball in. We played, 10, 11 real games in the summer, so it was different. Now we have a very more inexperienced team. So Carsen Edwards, obviously, as a second-team All-American last year, comes back, and anytime you can start a game and you feel like you got the best player on the floor, it's a good start. We have some guys that came off the bench for us last year, and Ryan Cline, who I've always considered like a starter for us, but we've been pretty deep in our backcourt. Matt Harms and Nogel Eastern that are going to have bigger roles for this team. And then we have a lot of new guys to sprinkle in there. A fifth-year transfer, 2 redshirt freshmen, and 3 true freshmen that I feel really good about. I think they're all going to be good players. When they're going to be good players is obviously the question anytime you have inexperience, and how they gel with those guys that I previously mentioned that played for us last year. So I'm really looking forward to it, and looking forward to getting started.
Thanks, Coach. We'll open the floor for questions.
Martin Soares from Basketball Society. Coach, can you just talk about the difference in how you might be coaching Carsen Edwards, being that the responsibility's a little different, less seniors around him, same kind of talent, but can you talk about the difference in how you approach coaching him with this new team?
Right, he's a very dynamic player. He's unique. From a physical standpoint, he's kind of got the body and the explosiveness and the speed like a Saquon Barkley. He plays through his offense. And so I think for guys like that, as you get older, you get more experience, you get more responsibility, but you don't change who you are. And a lot of what he did last year, when he got it going, we couldn't get it to him enough. But when somebody else got it going, that's kind of the piece that's tough when you have that scoring mentality. When Isaac Haas is, burying people by the concession stand, you got to get him the basketball. And Dakota Mathias was a really efficient player. Vince Edwards was a really efficient player. And so, sometimes you go without some touches for 2-3 minutes. I don't think that will be the case this year. I think he'll play off the ball, but I also think he'll play with the ball more. He's kind of been our point guard in transition, and now he'll have more responsibilities there. But I never want to take away from his ability to score, because I think that's a threat that we can have 40 minutes every single night.
Third row here.
Paul Oren with the Northwest Indiana Times. Sasha's been in your program for over a year now. You're going to finally see him on the court. What has he shown you in his redshirt year, and what kind of role do you anticipate him having?
Well, Sasha's one of those guys that I didn't mention by name, but he's one of our 2 redshirt freshmen. We want to keep our skill level, at a very high point. We've had the 3rd best 3-point field goal percentage in the country the past 2 years. And so his ability to shoot the basketball and stretch the defense is probably his best quality, but he's a competitive kid, knows how to play. And, I think he's going to be a really good player for us. I think he's excited about, playing games. I think he's tired of, being in our practices. I think any redshirt would say that. But no, I'm really looking forward to coaching him. He was a guy that, about 4 or 5 years ago, we had some struggles, and we really went to being able to sign guys that understand the game, that can make threes, make their free throws, and not turn the ball over. I know that's profound, but a lot of times those guys don't get ranked as high as somebody that can jump over the moon. Sasha's never going to get confused with that guy that can jump over the moon, but he's 6'5", he's got good size, he's competitive, and we think he's going to be a good player for us.
Paul Banks, thesportsbank.net. Getting back to Carsen Edwards and his NBA feedback, what were some of the specific things that he was told to improve upon? And then going ahead this season, how do you kind of balance his role in the team, to helping the team, versus how he can help himself also grow as an individual?
Well, I think more than anything, I think this gets lost sometimes when you put your name in the draft. We've had a lot of guys in the past 8-9 years put their name in and come back. Swanigan is one that did it and came back. He's one that did it and then stayed. So everybody that else has always came back, and they've taken kind of your feedback. But don't get lost. We all get judged on winning. Sometimes those guys come back, I got to do X, Y, and Z to be successful. But the NBA wants, they want winners. And they want role players. And none of the guys that we've had, and quite frankly, nobody's really had guys that just leave major college basketball and go be a starter in the NBA. You know, you got to be able to adjust to an organization. You got to be able to play a role. And I think with that, winning, you know, doing little things and winning and being able to do that. His first year, he was a 1-to-1 assist turnover ratio guy. And then last year, he was like 1.6, 1.7 to 1. And so him making strides in that area and being a 2-to-1 guy, I think is huge, while still shooting. He has shot some really good numbers last year in terms of his field goal percentage and his three-point field goal percentage. I think those can improve. And if you look at them, they're pretty sticky numbers. But I really do. He's that good of a shooter. So I think you're going to be yourself in terms of when people evaluate you, and they like to see something a little bit different. I think you grow into that as you push past college. I think more than anything, just improving his assist-turnover ratio, continue to do what he's doing, but now lead us to victory instead of just being that guy who's scored the basketball to help us, as we've had 4 seniors. I think that piece of it, it will really help him as he grows into a pro.
Fifth row.
Hey, Mike DeFabo, CNHI. Matt, you described Brian Cline as like a starter for you. Now he really is going to be a full-time starter. What does he need to do now in an expanded role?
I think he needs to do the same thing he's been doing. He's going to have more opportunities. He's going to have more cracks at it. The ball's going to be in his hands. We put the ball in Dakota Mathias's hands a lot. We'd run a lot of stuff because then he was such a great facilitator. When he didn't have shots, the ball got to where it needed to be. And so I think he's going to be that type of player for us. He can hit difficult shots. He can hit shots off the dribble. He can hit threes with people on him. So I just think just being a little bit better in the same role he's played, but he's going to have more opportunity because he's going to play more minutes. So I don't think anything really changes there. I think it's really hard, and I've talked to you about this a lot, Mike, is it's really hard for someone to be confident when they play 18 minutes. I don't think people that have never played the game really understand that, because you get taken out of the game when you do nothing wrong. And people always look at that like, well, why'd you take him out of the game? Well, I was putting Dakota Mathias back in, or I was putting Carsen Edwards back in. You know, and that's just that. Sometimes when you get to a little bit of a crowded backcourt, it's hard for that next guy to really get a feel. Like he has, you know, a handful of games here the past 2 years where, you know, he just ends up winning the game for us. But he would have won a lot more games for us with more opportunity. But as a coach, you have to make decisions to go with certain guys. So I think he's going to be great. I think he's somebody that, you know, a lot of people aren't talking about. But he just plays a great role, and he has a lot of basketball character. He knows how to play. He comes from a winning program. He does a lot of little things that helps your team.
Last question on our left.
Dylan Sin from the Journal-Gazette. Hey, Coach. Last year, Grady Eifert played a small but significant role for you guys as a backup. Where do you expect him to have improved this year, and what kind of role do you envision for him?
Well, I think for somebody like him that starts in your program and doesn't play and is on a walk-on, and a lot of times when you have guys that are walk-ons, they physically can't do it. They just can't. They might be able to shoot the basketball. They might be able to do it. He physically can do it. His dad, you know, started at power forward for Purdue in the 80s. His brother is the tight end for the Bengals. You know, and so like he has, you know, that athletic DNA where at 6'6", you know, 225, he can, you know, he can mix it up. He can be physical. He can rebound. He can play the position that he has to play for us. Now he just has to be confident. He's competing to play at the 4 for us. He started 2 games last year for us in the Big Ten when Vince Edwards went down. and did some really good things for us. But he still had a little nervousness, when he got out there. You're just not sure of yourself. Just like I talked about Cline playing 17 minutes. Well, you're really not sure of yourself when you one game play 3 minutes, the next game play 10, next game play 5, and it's all over the map because he just was, he was Vince's backup. So, we expect him to go out there and compete and help us win. And sometimes less is more, especially when you have a guy who shoots the basketball and is a big-time scorer in Carsen Edwards. Sometimes those guys that play those roles really increase someone like Carsen's value because now he's getting more cracks at it. It's more fluid, and your team has better chemistry.
Coach Painter, thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you.